You got dumped and you have an anxious attachment style and your ex has an avoidant attachment style, either a dismissive avoidant or a fearful avoidant attachment style. And now you're wondering what to do to get your ex back. Well, guess what? There are 5 ways that I'm going to detail in this video that your anxious attachment style could keep your avoidant ex away for forever. So let's talk about it. Unfortunately, the combination of an anxious attachment style, often with the guy, and an avoidant attachment style, often with a woman. Of course, I'm talking about heterosexual relationships here, but the dynamic still applies no matter what the relationship format. But this is the most common scenario for relationships, unfortunately, when we're talking about unhealed childhood trauma and attachment wounds. So this combination is very common, but unfortunately, it almost always fails unless both people become aware of their attachment wounds and work with a qualified therapist to actually overcome these issues. Anxious attachment style people learned at a young age that people close to them often will leave. So in adult relationships, they tend to hold tightly, cling tightly, and they can be clingy, smothering, needy, and maybe even controlling. Avoidance, on the other hand, and again, there's dismissive avoidance and fearful avoidance, but dismissive avoidance also learned at a young age that they can't trust people who love them, and people who say they love them always hurt them. That's what they learned at a young age. So they kind of keep everyone out here at arm's length. They keep relationships superficial and on surface level, and they don't let anybody in too closely, and they are emotionally unavailable. Fearful avoidance often are that same way, but if their partner begins to pull away, then they move into their anxious attachment style and kind of cling too tightly. And so with the fearful avoidant, you end up with this kind of push-pull dynamic. But no matter what, if you have an anxious attachment style and your ex has an avoidant one, then you're going to want to avoid these 5 behaviors. So behavior number 1, the constant chase. You're sending multiple text messages. You're not sending one and then waiting for them to reply. You're kind of bombarding them with one message after another. And they feel smothered and they feel like overwhelmed. And ultimately this activates their deactivation. The more you do this, the more they pull away. And with your anxious attachment style, when they begin to pull away, you probably try and hold on even tighter, which is completely counterproductive. And ultimately, this confirms for them their fears about relationships and why they don't like to be in them. And the more you chase, the faster they run. Behavior number 2, the emotional flood. You overwhelm them with feelings. You always want to have the talk, and you just kind of bombard them with deep, emotionally intimate conversations and feeling dumping. You send long, emotional messages. They might send short 1 or 2 sentence texts, and you're sending back novel-length texts. You want to process the relationship and process your feelings. And ultimately, what this is doing is triggering their shutdown response. Because remember, avoidance, especially dismissive avoidance, hate emotionally intimate, deep conversations, at least on any sort of regular basis, and especially if they're not initiating it. So I guarantee you, if you're constantly trying to do this with them, it will push them away. Behavior number 3, the control attempts. You're trying to manage their space. You're getting upset at their independence. If they pull away, you chase after them, or you become resentful that they want space and you want to be around them constantly, and that makes them want to be around you almost never. And you're demanding explanations and you're mistrustful, and it comes across as controlling. And this ultimately just reinforces their need to escape. But one thing I want to add here is it's not okay for an avoidant partner to stonewall you or give you the silent treatment or just leave without any explanation and without any communication about when they will return to you or return to the conversation. That is not okay. And it's okay to set a healthy boundary around that. Hey, I understand you need space sometimes, and I want to give you that. But when you do need that, can you please let me know, hey, I need some space right now. I'm okay. We're okay. But I'm going to take a day or 2 by myself, and then I'll circle back with you on this day. It's okay to set and enforce a healthy boundary like that. That way you're not just sitting around on pins and needles in limbo indefinitely. Behavior number 4, the past focus. Are you constantly bringing up memories of places that the 2 of you went to, things that you did, that kind of thing? You're rehashing old issues and you want to talk about everything. And guess what? Talking about past issues does have a time and place if you actually reconcile. It does not have a place when you are trying to win your ex back. When you're trying to win your ex back, you want to rekindle their positive memories of you, and you want to remind them of why they fell in love with you in the first place. And talking about all the dramatic issues that were going on in your relationship is not going to do that. And ultimately, this will just make them more distant. And behavior number 5, the pressure cooker. You're constantly pushing for commitment. You want to know where you stand. And you want to know what your chances are of reconciliation. And you're demanding it. You're rushing their processing time. And you're not giving them time to think about things and naturally let their attraction for you go back up again, which is what needs to happen in order for them to feel safe and want to come back to you. And you're making them responsible for your emotions. That's totally unfair. And ultimately, all this really does is confirm their fears about emotional intimacy, especially with you. If you have an anxious attachment style, even if this ex never comes back, this is going to plague your next relationship as well until you get a handle on things. So work with a qualified therapist to get to the root of your childhood issue. Why do you have a fear of abandonment? It probably has something to do with one or both of your primary caregivers, usually mom or dad. Did one of them leave and you didn't see them very much? That's what happened to me in my childhood. I identified it and I've worked on it and I've healed it. And you can too. Remember, I do offer one-on-one coaching. So if I can help you with anything, that can be a phone call, a Zoom session, or you can simply email me your problem and I'll record a custom video just like this one and send it back to you within a couple of days. If you want more info on that, it's down in the description or on this card right up here. But let me know your story down in the comments about what's going on with you and your relationship and your ex. But for now, I'll see you in the next video.